Okay, this is the second part of my trip up to and around Lake Mary. If you missed the first part, look in my older videos. It's labeled Lake Mary Road, Twin Lakes Detour. The elevation in the town of Mammoth Lakes is about 7,600, 7,800. Up here at the lake's basin, it's just under 9,000. It's I believe 8,900 at Lake Mary. The Twin Lakes are a little bit lower, and Lake George is a little bit higher. And the best thing about the elevation, especially in the middle of summer, is that it keeps the temperatures a lot cooler. Usually it's in the 70s, even in the middle of July or August. Very rarely does it get into the 80s this high up, and it can also happen, but it's also kind of rare, that it can be as low as in the 60s. The fishing up here can be really amazing in these alpine lakes, but that could be said for pretty much the entire eastern Sierras. However, they stock all the lakes around Mammoth Lake and June Lake extra heavily because they're so frequently visited by tourists, fishermen, sightseers, and such. Also, the Pacific Crest Trail runs not far from here. Okay, now we're at the turnoff to go around Lake Mary Road. Up at the end here, you'll see the right and a campground called Pine City over on the left. I almost stayed in this campground over here on the left called Pine City, but I had a bit of a problem with the host, who was a complete jerk. And having been a host and knowing what a hard job that is, for me to criticize a host, they have to really be a jerk or an asshole or whatever. I've got another video about that. It'll get uploaded soon. You can watch that if you want to hear all the details. Now, directly in front of me, or actually on the left after we made that turn, that's Coldwater Campground. And it's not lakeside, but it usually has some spaces open. Up here on the right is going to be the Lake Mary Marina. There are actually two marinas. This is the bigger of the two. The other one's just really a dock and a store. Even in the middle, there are usually plenty of camp spots available. The reason I took this drive around the lake, in addition to recording it, was to try and find a spot where I could come and park in the daytime to launch my boat. Because even though there are plenty of spaces available, none of the available spaces are usually very close to the water, even more so when the lake level is down like this. One thing you may have noticed from the scenery, it would appear I'm a lot further north than I actually am. I'm basically due east of Fresno, and if you've seen Fresno, it looks nothing like this. If you go 20 miles east, it looks nothing like this. But we're up at a high elevation, and when you're at a high elevation, even being this far south, you can technically be in the Arctic Circle. That's why we have these alpine lakes. That's why the temperature stays so cool even in the middle of summer. And it kind of looks like Canada or Alaska. And the further you go up in elevation, the more awesome the scenery becomes. Maybe next year we'll go over Tioga Pass. Not everyone has a motorhome or likes staying in a tent, but if you want to come up to the Mammoth Lakes Basin anyway, there are motels in Mammoth, there are cabins for rent up here by the lakes, and there's also some lodges. Do whatever you like. Don't let anyone tell you you can't, and have a blast doing it.